I put out a feeler on my Instagram and I asked people if they could ask a psychic anything they wanted, what would it be? So I did get a couple of responses and I want to go through those now if you're good with that.
Yes.
Okay, cool. We're going to start off with an interesting one. I got a question asking, is a birthmark something from a past life injury or even a death?
Yeah, the birthmarks often indicate exactly what you said, a past life injury or a death, because they come through frequency wise. And when you create your new body, your new container, your new physical mass, whatever you want to say, sometimes there's traumatic frequency in that area. If it felt unresolved, if it felt like it's still sticking with you in some regard, for instance, you're not going to have every, I don't know, knife wound, accident. What else do they shot wound, anything like, you're not going to have all of those. You would be covered from head to toe as many lifetimes as you've lived with each, body. But
Yeah.
there are some that you will either desire to keep to spark a memory, or there's some unresolved trauma there and it just kind of stuck with you. So the frequency then generates within your new body.
So interesting because I do have a birthmark. I think it's on my left side and it's in a line. It kind of looks like somebody who might have stabbed you in
Yep.
the abdomen. Is there well, one, I got a lot of questions about that of like, what does that mean for me? And is there any unresolved trauma or a reason that I would carry that mark over to this lifetime?
Well, I mean, for you, for that one, the first thing that I see is you actually running, but during the time that you were trying to escape, get away, you were working with spiritual work. And so it was forbidden. You were viewed as a witch, actually, in that lifetime. So, as you're viewed as a witch or witchcraft or something of that nature, and upon your escape, that was, I believe that it feels to me like you were actually not, I don't want to say housed, but contained for a hanging or a public showing. But it wasn't just you, there was other people there, because I can see other people there. And you didn't make it. You didn't make it to the hanging or the the public showing. So, that's weird. That being said, coming into this lifetime, you are moving into spiritual work as well. So you it's in your frequency. It's part of a reminder. I feel like you actually felt like retaining that scar or injury as part of your frequency balance for this lifetime.
Yeah, because I feel like I'm trying to get braver about talking more about the things that I'm interested in or that I'm passionate about or my beliefs. And so I could see how that could be an interesting souvenir that I took
Exactly.
along.
Well, because when you did voice in another lifetime and you were, you know, captured and looked at as however they looked at them back in the day, evil, demonic, whatever, and you were being persecuted, that would be a good way to put it. Clearly, that would might give you some pause moving into your next lifetime where you're working with spiritual work. So they do correlate and they do go together. And it is something that you want to resolve. So as you learn to find your voice and as you learn to be upfront, you won't have that in your next lifetime.
Fascinating. Love it.
Hmm.
Very
Hmm.
cool. I've always wondered that actually sparks another question because what about freckles? Sometimes I think freckles are really interesting. Like I will have very like weirdly patterns. Like there's like a triangle pattern that I have, I think in a couple of places. Are there any significance to freckles and
Now,
their
I
placement?
haven't looked at that from a medical medium standpoint as a whole. So that would be something that I would probably have to look in on an individual basis because freckles as a whole, body, physicalness, aesthetic thing, I've never seen any tie or correlation to a traumatic event or anything of that nature. It doesn't mean that maybe you're having patterned ones. Maybe that's different, but that would be something you'd have to look at on an individual basis.
Yeah, I guess I wasn't really thinking trauma. I was thinking more along the lines of some sort of symbol or significance or
Again,
marker.
it not freckles, but that doesn't mean that somebody might not have some type of pattern on their body that would indicate um, a symbol or something of that nature. But as a whole, as a blanketed statement, it doesn't pertain.
Okay, makes sense. Moving on to our other question. There was recently a news story on Fox News, and they were showing clips from a podcast. It was the Diary of a CEO podcast, and they were openly talking about four different alien species that are currently on Earth.
Mhm.
And so Fox News was detailing the four different types that they knew of, which were the Greys, the Reptilians, they call them the Nordics, and then insectoids as well. So they were detailing this and saying that more files are coming out or plan to come out. They're dropping them little by little. It seems like there's some resistance maybe within the deep state or the government is pushing back on releasing all of these files, but
Mm,
more is supposedly coming. What are
okay.
your thoughts on I think the question here was not so much is it real because I feel like we're all coming to a conclusion of yes, there is more life than just humans, but why now? Specifically around timing. Why is this all coming out now?
Well, because of the frequency as a whole, which I'm going to get into in another podcast where I'm talking about fertility and children coming in and being born during this time, the star children being born. The frequency as a whole is very, very different. And people don't realize that when the frequency as a whole begins to change, it's like changing the information on the internet. It's literally changing what you are accustomed to, it's changing what you're influenced by, it's changing what your belief system and your perspective might look like when the whole Earth's frequency changes, but also the common frequency changes. So these are all influenced by astrological frequencies as well. So there's a lot of frequency shifts going on. And when you have frequency shifts going on astrologically that are meant to shift the collective frequency, the Earth's frequency shifts with that. It needs to be looked at when we're talking about frequency as information. I feel like people look at frequency as a vibration. And while that's true, these vibrations are filled with information. So there are aspects of when we're being influenced by planetary stuff with information, then people tune into that information and they would like to expand their consciousness. They would like to expand their awareness. They would like to expand upon a subject. And that's been happening throughout centuries. So, what I mean is, for instance, any technological advancement, health types things, these are often influenced from outside of Earth. They're often influenced from the spirit realm, from planetary alignment, but also from information coming to us through frequency. And oftentimes, weirdly enough, that can be influenced by other beings and other worldly beings. They can be moving a frequency towards us, influencing the things that we're picking up on. And then everybody starts to get on the same page. They start desiring similar knowledge. Once you're influenced by the possibility of maybe this type of health shift or influenced by the possibility of understanding the ecosystem or the earth differently. or you're influenced by wanting to know more about what's beyond the earth and this planet. These come collectively, these frequencies come and collectively work their way through the collective consciousness and everything else. And when they do that, some people attune to that frequency, then they either receive information such as, hey, I should try this with technology or whatever invention they're working on, or I should try this with health. Oh, this is a great idea. So they are influenced by receiving information through the frequency. They then process it and try new things. And right now, the galactic energy is heavily influencing the collective, the planetary alignment, and the Earth's frequency because it is beginning to raise. And this is the time of that. So while that is happening, those who are tuning in to a galactic frequency, those who are highly intuitive, that are sensitive to receiving information through frequency, they want to know more. They want to explore these topics that maybe they don't have a full grasp on. So the timing is perfect because it's the influential frequency that's causing the timing. So it's meant to happen in this order.
Yeah, I mean, I've always heard that these years, I mean, now till, and you even mentioned it too, till through 2029 are going to be really big disclosure years. I don't think it's going to be like, here's everything we know all at once. I think it's just we're going to get breadcrumbed a little bit until we get comfortable enough to be on the same page. Do you think that's true? How do you feel about
What
how
do you mean
people are going to
comfortable
take it?
enough to be on the same page?
The collective, I mean, not for them to like absolutely.
I don't think the collective will ever be on the same page. I don't think that there's going to be a time where as a whole everybody is really on the same page. Unfortunately, I don't believe that there will ever be that because you will always have the people trying to be skeptical, especially on Earth, because now you're dealing with a whole another belief system, perspective situation where they are going to want to prove things from a physical standpoint when they don't really have the knowledge to understand how quantum physics works and all of these other processes. They can't really wrap their mind around it. And it's a very human response when somebody cannot wrap their mind around something to say or be going, that doesn't exist then, or that's not possible. Which is interesting because if everybody ever did that throughout time, nothing would be possible because nobody would ever be pushing the boundaries and trying to make other things possible. So that I find kind of fascinating when that's a common response.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking more of like, I don't want the world to just spin out of control just because they can't handle the information. I mean, I think about it in the terms of like AI is here and it's hard to ignore and you can't like argue its abilities and capabilities. It's like it's not going away. And
Well,
it
you have to look at the picture differently. We have been around for this little tiny time frame in our bodies that we're in at this very moment in time, right? So we've lived, under 100 years easily because me and you are not 100 years old. That being said, if you look at the big picture, we've been gifted information throughout the entire history of the planet that we have documentation for. There's constant giving of information. So we are given information as this influence of planetary alignment, spiritual influence, other being influence, whatever you want to say, kind of wants to give us information. And that allows us to advance. And it's allowed us to advance over tens of thousands of years, giving us information to help us to evolve. And this is just one of those times where we're being influenced and given information to help us evolve further. Same with how AI came to be. I mean, I know that people would love to think that they are born in and so incredibly smart that they discover all of these things, which is in essence is true. But the way that I see it and view it is those people are so incredibly intelligent that they have the ability to also tune in and receive information, then decode it, then put it into action, which is also very different than I feel like the regular people would look at something. So they're incredibly intelligent in a different way. They're utilizing all of their senses. They're utilizing their spiritual senses, their intuition to receive information, decode it, then put it into action. But this isn't new. None of this is new. This happening of this disclosure stuff is just another time frame and another layer of us being influenced to expand and open our minds and learn more stuff. So we've been taught throughout the tens of thousands of years all of the things. We've been taught evolution. We've been taught how to, change things and fly in the air and do all the things that we're doing. And so it's just the next step of our learning and our receiving information and then our utilizing it and taking action with it and becoming smarter as a whole. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah, it totally makes sense. And then of course, I always have more questions because I was thinking about AI, and I've heard too where it's like AI has always existed. It's always been here. And then it's not that it was man made or created by humans. It was more discovered essentially by humans. What is your take on that?
Well, I believe that is to be true because I believe everything is discovered. I don't think anything's really man-made. I think it's you receive the information, you utilize it, you create. So it's all discovery. And AI has been along way longer than people understand it has been. I mean, even just in everybody's lifetime, it's been working with ATM machines and all kinds of things. So no, AI has been around for a very long time. I don't love the fear of all things.
Yeah.
It's starting to get crazy, and I think that that's where the division is going to be with the collective, and that's where I think more danger lies is in the fear than it does in the actual thing. I mean, let's just take the aliens for instance. This absolutely makes me crazy that people even lose their mind about this. Like, I think it is the most ridiculous thing. You have beings that are flying here from other planets. It's just factual. They're out there. Everybody can go, yeah, that's debunked. Yeah, I don't believe it because I don't see it. Well, there's a lot of things that you don't see and you believe in. And that's to each his own. It doesn't matter to me. They're around. It is what it is. If you think that these beings have been flying around the planet and not taken over, caused harm, did anything, for the amount of time they've been hanging around Earth, there's documentation from thousands of years ago of them being around Earth, visiting Earth. This is not new. I think that that is almost hilarious that people think this is number one, new. Number two, started in the 50s. Like, let's do some research here. And then on top of that, that it's dangerous because you don't think that they would have done something dangerous long before now. Honestly, they're trying to save us from ourselves.
Yeah.
They really are. They're trying to save us from ourselves. They're trying to save us from destroying the planet. They're trying to save us from making really poor decisions as we evolve. It's kind of like, let's watch those children, don't let them run with scissors, you know? I
Yeah.
mean, that's just what they're doing. So it just is absolutely confusing and hilarious at the same time when people are like, yeah, but do you feel like they're dangerous? Do you feel like they're going to come to harm us? And I'm like, seriously, did you even think that statement through? Like, that's to me an uninformed statement just by using your conscious brain. I mean, they've been here. Why wouldn't they have done it by now?
Yeah, I do find it interesting that the explosion of AI is coming at a time when all of this disclosure is happening. So it makes it incredibly hard now to believe what you're seeing because a lot of what you see online is AI generated and isn't real. So do you think the timing of the release of AI and the disclosure is on purpose at all?
I guess I never thought about that. I don't think that they I think it's, what would you say, lucky timing, I guess I would say. It's lucky timing, I feel like. I really don't think that it was necessarily planned specifically at the time, because it's kind of AI's kind of been exploding, so I think it was kind of luck on the end of anybody who wants us to not believe that they're out there. Because I mean, that aspect is influencing people. I mean, my 8-year-old, 9-year-old grandsons are don't believe anything. Oh, that's AI. That's AI. They literally do not believe nothing. Why I think that that's okay though is because people are going to have to circle back and rely on their intuition at some point in time. You know, that's where it's going to take you to. At some point in time, you're going to have to start tuning in. You're going to have to start connecting. You're going to have to start trusting what you feel is accurate and what you feel is right. And that is where we're headed. And I think that that is going to be a blessing in disguise that nobody really thought of when it comes to AI or false information. But I do believe it's going to amplify, for the really smart people out there, their awareness about developing their own intuitive senses and opening the floodgates there. And so I don't think it's a problem. I actually think it's a blessing in disguise that people don't realize is going to happen, because you are going to have to trust your intuition moving forward. There's going to be so much false information out there and so much rumor, so many things that are going out there that you're going to need to reach for something. And it's going to make people feel very anxious and very uneasy if they don't turn inwards and start using that gauge. And that's where I think you're going to see the split of people, where I'm talking about the collective frequency. You're going to have the people that are so terrified and so grounded in being on earth and in the earth body and what they can see and what's factual. Those are the people that are all going to move towards, I don't want to use my intuition. Just tell me. Just tell me what to believe. Tell me what's real. You know, what are we supposed to do? They're going to easily follow a leader of some kind, whether that be religious, whether that be government, whether that be their neighbor. You know, they're going to look for somebody that they can trust and follow. And they're going to put all their faith in that person to keep them safe and tell them the truth and whatever. And then you're going to have a whole nother group of the collective that is going, there's way too much to sort through. I need an internal compass to help me navigate this, because I'm tired of living in fear and I'm tired of feeling like I don't know what's happening and I don't know what's real. And that's going to be a blessing in disguise for anybody who heads that direction and that route.
Yeah, I love that angle because that wasn't really something I had thought of. I thought it was just more to like let's keep everyone confused and muddy the water, but like what a good tool to really shift you into more of an intuitive place.
Yeah, and I like I said, it's a blessing in disguise. They don't even know it's coming, like those people. But what's going to happen is people are going to start to feel so let down. A group of the collective will start feeling so let down and so confused, and that they're going to be like, I need another angle. I need another way. I'm not going to live my life in fear. For those who are very high frequency, you just don't want to live in fear and you don't want to live in anxiety anymore. It's just too much. It's too much for the body. It's too much for the mind, and you want a different way. It's gotten to the point where misinformation has exhausted the mental, the mind, the mindset. And that's where we're going to see a split. we're going to see a split where nobody wants to even deal with it anymore. So they're going to head the direction where they feel like they trust somebody, and everybody else is going to go, I need to navigate life differently.
Yeah.
So that's great.
Yeah. Amazing. Do you want to completely shift gears and talk about something else?
Yeah, let's do it.
I have seen a lot of news clips and stories about Spencer Pratt, and he is currently running for the Los Angeles mayor. If anybody out there who is watching doesn't know who Spencer Pratt is, he was famous for being on the show The Hills, and he was kind of like the villain back in the day. I think that was like the
Yes.
early 2000s. And he actually lost his home in the Palisades fire that happened. Was that 2025? Was that
I don't
January
even
25?
know. I
It
don't
was
know.
a minute ago, but he
Yeah.
lost his home and he had seen a lot of shady things go down. And
Yeah.
I became such a huge fan of him because when he lost everything, he put his full force behind social media to make his wife's career like resurrected so that they could start generating cash. And she had like he was promoting her album and they were getting sales from that and like trying just to stay afloat. And so because of all of this shady stuff that he had seen, he really became passionate about making the city that he loves so much better and is
Yeah.
now running for mayor. You actually said you watched a Joe Rogan podcast with him on it recently, which I have not seen, but I want him to succeed so bad. So I want your take on how his mayoral candidacy is going to go.
Well, I haven't looked into that too much, but I do feel like he's heading the political direction either way. So I do feel like he's going to get into the government somehow, the whether it be even statewide. I do think whether he wins the first round or not, he's going to succeed in that area. I do feel like he's going to head that direction. And honestly, I seen the podcast on accident. I wasn't really looking for that. It caught my attention and I listened to it and I was like, wow, this really is a very passionate person that really should be in that part of the government somehow. So, in my opinion, he would do an absolute fantastic job. I really truly believe that. I think it's a little crazy for people to think otherwise if they really did listen to him. But in my opinion, he'll do fantastic. I almost see a sidestep around the mayor portion. So I don't know what that means for him, but I do see him going past the mayor or around, like not past the mayor that's there, but like past that seat somehow, meaning that there's more to him that is going to happen.
Like
So,
maybe a higher office than
or
just
he
mayor?
potentially ends up somewhere where he's dealing with White House or something where he's really being involved with bills or something of that nature. Very productive and influential. I do not feel like it just stops at the mayor seat, I guess I would say. I don't know what you call that, but
Yeah.
and I don't know who he's running against, but if he
Her name's
does
Karen Bass.
okay. Yeah, I don't know about any of that, but I do feel like he's coming up against some resistance though. I haven't gone down that road at all, but I do feel like he's coming up against some resistance because he really is digging deep and pulling some things apart that need to be pulled apart. And I don't think some of the people who are would come to light, I guess I would say, they really don't want that to happen, or they feel like it would sidestep their career somehow because I cause issues, whatever. So whether he wins it the first go around or not, I do feel him being successful with moving forward in politics. It's
Yeah, because
really a part of his forte, like, really is. It's part of his purpose.
yeah, I think he brings such a fresh energy to everything. He's so much a non-traditional politician,
Yeah,
and some of the ads that he's creating are just kind of like, "Whoa, you would have never seen that." I mean, he's a character, so he's very
right.
out there, not afraid to say what, he feels or
Yeah.
thinks. So I feel like that's just such a fresh take because you think politics and they're all just stuffy and it feels like nothing ever gets changed, but it feels like he actually wants to make changes. I did hear him say that if he didn't win the race that he would leave California because the state was just in such a disarray of all of their
Yeah,
policies.
and whether that happens or not, again, I keep seeing his connection. Like I keep seeing him going to the White House, though. So that's more interesting to me because
Yeah.
I keep seeing that he is actually making a difference with some bills or some politicians, congressmen. I don't know, but I keep seeing he eventually creates a connection where he's going in and getting help or helping them, making a difference in a positive way. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
mhm,
I'm excited to watch that unfold. So we shall see his journey as he goes and
and
hopefully
good
he
luck
does
to
well.
him because it really is, part of his purpose. Yeah.
Okay, the last thing that we need to talk about is the Summer House reunion was just released. I don't think you've had a chance to watch it yet, but I know you have a
No,
lot to say.
I have a lot
So
to say.
I'm gonna turn it over to you because if you want to introduce the topic in case there's not Summer House, but there's a lot of drama going on.
There's a lot of drama going on. Now, it's not a secret that I love watching reality TV shows. I find it fascinating because it's how I unwind. But weirdly enough, I find it fascinating as a psychic. Strangely enough, whether it be Real Housewives, Summer House, because I
Love
do
is
watch.
blind.
I know. Well, wait, I don't know if I watched a lot of that one,
Well,
but
you gave some hot takes. You wait for the next Love is Blind season. We've got some special episodes coming.
that being said, I'm watching these people talking and lying to each other basically often. I'm watching people who are married that I know are getting divorced in 2 seconds. Like you can see it coming from a mile away. And so it's interesting because it's always like, am I just seeing this coming from a mile away because I'm a psychic? Or is it just because, me and you have that banter where it's like, no, Jen, that's because you're you, not because you're a human. So it gets confusing on I'm seeing. And I'm like, well, that's totally happening. And everybody's like, what do you mean? So the Summer House I've watched since the beginning. It's just something I've watched. And Amanda and Kyle have been together for, I believe, 10 years on the show. And they've been married for, I believe, 4 years. Then we have some other friends in that house, which is Ciara and West, that they came into the house at different times. Them two had a relationship for a half a minute, ended badly. And right now, the drama is that Amanda and West have gotten together and everybody is in shock. Here's something that I find very fascinating because they just released the statement, I believe, in March or something, because there was speculation that they were together. I had been watching the Summer House season, which just ended, I think, 2 weeks ago or something like that. But it was filmed last year and I believe ended in August. And as I was watching, there was some weird, bizarre behavior from Amanda that I was going, that that feels weird. Why are you concerned about West? Why are you so in tune to this? Like you could feel the jealousy or the protection from I could not believe how well the producers captured that. And it made me wonder, am I the only one noticing this? This is crazy. Well, then there was a lot of speculation and then it came out. One of the big discrepancies I do believe that is happening is when did this start? When did this happen? When did it start? So clearly it was starting at the end of the Summer House. Now, whether you want to call it an emotional affair or they were, physical, I don't think that many people care who would be in the relationship with either of those people, emotional, whatever boundaries were definitely crossed within
Yeah.
the house and you can see it and it's caught on camera. So whether there's proof or not proof, from a psychic standpoint, this has been happening for a while. Now there is going to be a lot of problems with this because this has now ruined all of their friendships. And as it should at that point, the things that are frustrating with this type of thing, and here's what's going to be said. And I deal with people in relationships all the time. I deal with soulmates all the time. I deal with those connections constantly. They're going to say, you can't help who you love. That's a huge problem because 100% you can help where your boundaries are. So that's just an excuse for we cross the boundary. That's all that that is. It doesn't really mean anything. Because otherwise you would have, friends being with husbands of other friends and wives, like there'd be crossing happening all over the world if you really couldn't control that type of behavior. So they didn't. I think that that's going to cause a lot of problems. I know that they believe that they're going to make it through this unscathed, but it's going to cause a lot more emotional disruption than I think personally for themselves and than they believe it's going to. So right now they're using each other as their survival boat. You know, they're clinging together and going, we have to save ourselves, so we're going to bond together. So to me it's kind of a trauma bond in essence because they have no other place to go. But I know that people are going to be wondering, are they going to stay together? So I do believe that they may stay together for a few years, possibly. It does feel like maybe 2.5 years, but at some point, it doesn't feel at this point in time to me like it will be long term. Unfortunately,
I actually have another question based on whether the show, I'm assuming that the show continues and moves forward. I can't imagine that they're all going to still be cast members, right? Like somebody's got to be leaving the show.
I wouldn't think that they would. It doesn't feel like they would bring back Amanda or West onto that show. It would. I don't think that the other cast would film with them. It
Cause
feels
yeah,
to me
like
like the other
Ciara.
cast, yeah, wouldn't film with them at that point in time. I mean, this is gonna cause a major disruption with any of the filming of them guys moving forward, and I don't yeah, no.
Yeah, because I thought there was questions of whether like Sierra was going to leave. So it was like if it's either Sierra or Amanda and West, who do you think is more likely to be leaving the show? Just Amanda and
Amanda
West.
West.
Yeah.
The the there's so many problems with what's happened. What they did crossed such a strong boundary that most people have. That the response to them, I think a lot of people would stop watching the show, truthfully. I don't think that
Yeah.
people want to see it. I don't think that they want to see them together. I think it just sparks anger in everybody. I believe that every time that anything's even posted, I can't even imagine what their fan what the comments are, because you're talking so many issues. You're talking an affair, you're talking a friendship barrier being crossed both ways on the male side and the female side, and an affair. I mean, you crossed all the boundaries. The only thing is nobody was related at this point in time. Like, you couldn't have messed this up harder if you tried, for real. It's very messy. It was done very poorly. So when it comes there's so many problems with this because of the rippling effect and the pain that it's causing throughout a huge group of people. And I'm not in love with the fact that Amanda has struggled with her mental health for a very long time. And this is another poor decision where a boundary was crossed and clearly would be considered a mistake by most people. And now they have to gravitate to each other at this point in time. So they're going to show a united front for a while. And I do think that people are going to have to expect that because there's really nowhere else for them to go right now. They're going to kind of trauma bond at this point. They are going to be getting backlash from everywhere. Badly enough, one of the things that I don't love about these types of instances is I do not feel like this would potentially be a forever at this time. There's too many, the energy feels weird to me. And while I do believe that they feel like they're madly in love. That is going to be something that a lot of people are going to struggle with. I do believe that they honestly feel that way. I feel like they've convinced themselves that they're the love of each other's lives, which I find kind of fascinating because a relationship built on a shaky foundation like that can be very problematic. So while
Yeah.
it is going to feel great in the beginning and we have each other and we're going to have to bond together, that's not glue that's going to keep things motivating for long periods of time. And when you get in those situations, women tend to come out on the worst side, meaning a guy can potentially recover from this type of scandal and still date other people. And that it somehow is forgiven. A girl, while guys will still date her, a woman, then you're going to have the family repercussions of anybody that the woman dates. And you're going to have a lot of skepticism and, there's going to be this huge scarlet letter on her and she's not going to be able to recover from that very well. And eventually, I feel like that tears somebody down. And she was already struggling with mental stuff in the first place. So I'm not in love with the behavior because I don't feel like she's really getting healthier at all. I feel like she leaped off and went a whole different direction.
Yeah, so she hasn't really found herself, or maybe I don't even know how I would state that necessarily. Like,
No,
what is
she
that?
hasn't found herself at all. She dove straight into a hot mess. So that is gonna be a very shaky foundation, but I do believe that they believe that this is gonna be a long lasting, we're gonna be in love and do all these things, and I do believe that they believe that's true. So they're gonna they'll put out statements. They will be putting out statements. They will be seen around places and they will act as if they are a newlywed couple. That is what you're gonna see for a while until all this stuff dies down. And that's when reality will set in of what that relationship is really going to be able to sustain. And that's
Yeah.
when the newness is going to wear off. Well, I really keep seeing 2.5 years is how long the relationship is going to be sustainable at this point in time. And then we're going to see the cracks.
Yeah. Mark your
Yep.
calendars.
Yeah. We'll revisit this.
Yeah,
We'll
we'll
revisit
revisit this conversation
next
later.
time, and then we'll talk about it, what's going on then.
Okay, yeah. Let me ask this because, I've seen a lot of clips about Ciara, and I feel like if anybody's going to come out on top on this situation, it's going to be her. What do you see for Ciara?
I think that her modeling career is going to take off real big. I think that she's gonna have a lot of opportunities, and I do feel like she's gonna be doing some hosting. I don't know if she's doing that already, like red carpet hosting, things like that. But I feel like she's gonna be doing some hosting, and I really feel like, modeling is really gonna take off, and people are gonna wanna see her, and they're gonna wanna support her, and brands are gonna wanna pick her up because of it. The brands would be smart to capitalize off of her because she is beautiful and her energy is really good and a lot of people empathize with her and want her to do well. And so it's going to elevate her career and it's going to elevate any brands that connect with her. So I keep saying Europe too. I don't know if she's there or there a lot, but I think that she's going to be doing a lot of work in Europe as well. So her career is about ready to catapult. She really dodged a bullet. I
Yeah,
mean, truthfully.
I think it's interesting how such a terrible situation can turn into such a blessing for some people. You know what
Yeah,
I'm saying? Like,
she really dodged a bullet, And why I believe that is because she was very emotionally entangled with West, and he doesn't know himself well enough to invest the way that she was investing in him back. He is very scattered in his energy and what he wants, and he doesn't know who he is, and he doesn't know what he wants in life. His maturity level is on the lower side of just identity, not immaturity in age or whatever. I'm just saying I know who I am in life. I know what I want to be. And I would like to explore that. He's very insecure. People do not realize that about him because he comes across as very secure, but he's very non committal, very insecure, and hesitant about choices he makes in life and what he's going to do. He tries to play it off as if he's very secure and he's made these decisions, but he second guesses himself a lot, and he worries a lot on the back end. He'll never admit to that, but he absolutely second guesses himself, and he has low self-esteem from when he was younger. So that causes him a lot of issues because as he's gotten older, there's been a lot of beautiful women drawn to him, and he's trying to fulfill that side of himself that didn't feel accepted when he was younger, and or felt like he was overlooked or not handsome enough, or the girls, weren't like wanting to, beat down his door. And so however anybody saw him when he was younger, that's just how he felt on the inside. He felt like not as good as his buddies or whatever. He didn't feel like he was as good as he wanted to be. And so that is definitely causing him a lot of problems with a lot of these decisions that he's making, these poor decisions. And so that's led him down this path. Amanda, she's just really lost herself entirely, and she's just grasping at any straw that she can grasp at. And she's just struggling there. Now,
What about I was gonna say, what about, Amanda's ex, Kyle?
Kyle. Kyle, I think that he is also going to end up benefiting from this. I do. I think that his I do feel like his DJing stuff takes off a little bit more, but I do feel he's gotta really rework his relationship energy at some point, because I do like the guy as what I've seen. I feel like he's got a good heart. He has good energy. He doesn't intend to mess up as much as you see him mess up. However, he's not going to be in a sustainable long-term relationship with the behaviors he has. It's just not going to happen. I don't think anybody would have given any flack whatsoever with them two divorcing. I believe that Amanda has put up with way more than most women would put up with. I honestly, like, that almost is crazy to me. But that just goes to show you that she doesn't also value herself very much. So now you have two people that really don't value themselves very much, but yet they're valuing each other. So they're really giving each other what they need to create on their own. It's going to create a very weird codependent dynamic, because the problem that lies there is when that person is not giving you those things anymore, you're still stuck with the same problem. You're looking for that outside of yourself. So Amanda and West have been looking for a lot outside of themselves that they need to fix inside of themselves. They're doing the exact same thing. So it's almost like they're a
Is it
carbon
like a
copy of each other.
frequency thing? Like,
Oh
because
yeah.
they're kind of on that same frequency, that's why they're drawn to each
Yeah, they
other, and the moment that they find their
yes.
backbone or who they are and are confident in who they wanna be, that's when the relationship will probably
If
because
if they find it. Eventually they're gonna go looking for it. And that's why I'm
yeah,
saying I give it about 2.5 years. And
yeah.
then the newness is gonna wear off and they're gonna go, "Oh god, I feel the same way." that I did in my last relationship or whatever. That's not going to go away. That's the problem. This is such a weird band aid fix where they fell into a situation that they shouldn't have fallen into. They're going to say it was an accident. And you don't accidentally cross the wall of China. You know, that is not how that works. There's planning involved. There is buying materials. There's that's the thing is they're all gonna that drives me crazy. It's gonna be spun as an accident when I don't think people realize the amount of planning that probably went into them seeing each other here and there and whatever.
So the takeaway that I have from this is that if you were, let's say, single for a decade and you worked on finding yourself and being confident in who you are, that's a better path.
That is
That's
a
just
better
all.
path. That is a much better path.
Well, I'm doing something right.
Yeah. I like how you framed it. Yep.
I'm talking about me, so that's
Yeah,
why.
that's I figured that out. It was very clear. Yes.
Good.
All right. Okay,
Okay.
until next time.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.